Hello, everyone. Welcome today to our Ask OAS, our Q&A office hours that we have every Monday from 3 to 4 p.m. Today, we're going to focus on our Ohio STEP series, talking about the problem and target customer sections that the students will be working on. And after that, we'll ask any questions that people have and have some time for those question and answer sections. So Ohio STEP is our STEM and entrepreneurship program for grades 5 through 12. This is our former Believe in Ohio program that a lot of you may be familiar with. And we have updated it this year with new branding and new resources. So here students will apply science, technology, and engineering design to create products or services that solve real-world problems for people. For individuals, small groups, specific target customers, or it can be large problems around the world and in society. So they'll support their solution with STEM and market research to prove not only its marketability, but its scientific viability. So students go through the process of coming up with a product or service as a solution to a problem that they want to solve. So teachers can use our Ohio STEP curriculum PowerPoint that we have created in order to teach each of the sections. And that curriculum PowerPoint also has an implementation guide and lesson plans associated with it. And both of those documents can be found in Project Board. First, go to the Help tab, FAQ, and Resource Center. And once you click on that, you'll see multiple boxes, not only for Project Board questions about registration and classes, et cetera, but also specifics about Science Day program and for Ohio STEP. In the outline that pops up once you click on Ohio STEP, you'll see a choice of teacher resources and student resources. Under teacher resources is where you will find the curriculum PowerPoint and the implementation guide for and other curriculum resources that you might want to use as a teacher to teach. We also, under student resources in that same area, have our full booklet, the student workbook that has all the instructions for doing Ohio STEP. So while our template that students will work through have abbreviated instructions, our instructions were a little bit too detailed and have a lot of support worksheets and graphic organizers that are also included. And in the workbook, students can see everything. It can download as a PowerPoint, you can print it, or you can use it as an online PowerPoint or in order to actually fill in the information. So be sure that you have access to that first, and then you'll be following through, starting with the getting started, which we've done in a previous session. And they're looking at some of the background information about entrepreneurship, deciding whether you want to do some of our optional programs and units, or moving forward and starting with the very first section, which is going to be problem and target customers. The problem is we want students to look for needs that are not being fulfilled, problems that they have seen in the world, in their personal lives, in their family lives, things that are personal to them with their hobbies like sports or music or whatever they happen to be interested in and like to do. It can be something like a pain point where every day they use a certain product and wish it would do something a little bit different or a little bit more. That's what we mean by the pain point, something that causes you friction and irritation and that you want to solve it, or that you've perhaps said to yourself or others, I wish somebody would invent something that does whatever. So we're trying to get students to think of not waiting for someone else hopefully to do this, make those changes, invent that product that will fix their problem. We want them to think about what they could do. What do they know? How can they apply that? So this is some of the things that we're kind of having them focus on and look at as they're developing what problem they want to solve. We're also can be disruptions in the marketplace and in society. Disruptions that happen can lead to new market opportunities. So think of the pandemic, think of all the increased use and need for online platforms like we're using now to do our meetings and virtual connections and contacts with people, how that's changed for some office spaces to need to be smaller and more like a hoteling kind of office, while a lot of people are still, liked working from home. And so now we have a lot of hybrid kind of workspaces. What other opportunities have developed because of that disruption to our society? In grocery stores, in shopping, there are a lot of changes. And those are the kinds of market opportunities we want students to think about as they're considering a problem and a solution to some of those problems. We have additional resources for students to think about that and work through it. I mentioned the videos for teaching entrepreneurship and giving a background information about what they'll be doing. We follow the same 6 young entrepreneurs through the rest of our work areas. So for looking for problems, we have finding problems, seeing opportunities. It's accompanied by a worksheet that helps students focus on the important points of the video and acts as a formative assessment for them. The problem action steps students will be looking at in the problem section are brainstorm. The first thing they're asked to do is to brainstorm with a buddy, or just by themselves, small groups, but to brainstorm some ideas. And if they're having a difficult time coming up with an idea, this is where we suggest you might want to use one of our optional resources that we introduce in the Getting Started section. We have emerging technologies if you're looking for things around the world that have been new products and ideas and research that have been coming on. And we also have focusing on Ohio things, exploring Ohio's entrepreneurial ecosystem. And that includes a lot of videos over the last 6 months of new companies and products and things being developed here in Ohio. And we do have them from around the state so they can find something close to them that might speak to them, or jumping out to the Ohio Department of Development website for further information. But these are just ways to spark the idea, get people interested in following certain pathways that they might find of interest, or new things that they never thought of. And now this sparks an idea and it becomes something that they want to explore further. So once they do select that problem that they want to explore, we have them begin some of their research. So it's wonderful to understand that there's a problem, but if we're trying to develop into a product or service, we have to understand how large that problem is. Why does it exist? What happened? How did it begin? Is it something that does have a beginning? But just understanding more about it. And if we don't solve this problem, what kind of negative consequences might be associated with that? We need to understand why it's important enough to invest our time, our interest, money into developing the situation, our product or service, and bringing it to the market. So all of these things allow the students to develop a lot further how important, how broad of a problem it is, how many people are affected, really thinking about the details of, is this truly a huge problem for enough people that would be able to make this a viable business? Now we're talking about the people. How do we understand who those people are and how many of them might become our customers? We pull these sections together because they really do work hand in hand. We need to understand how large the market is. We have to understand a little bit more in depth of who is affected. And we might have a target market, but we also have possible people who might also use our product that we hadn't thought of initially. So thinking about this, understanding who that is, what their needs are, all help us design and come up with a solution and design our product or a service to meet the needs of that particular group. So we look at either the target customer or the intended user as who our market is. So the customer is the person who actually buys it. Our intended user is who we intend to actually use the product or service, and those might be different. You could have your and a hospital perhaps be the customer. The intended user would be the patient. That's a different person who's directly purchasing it. Same way with parents and children and pet owners and pets. So think of those as kind of two different groups, but quite often they are the same. The intended user and the customer are the same. So understand them, empathizing, truly experiencing what what the situation is for those people, how their lives are, help us understand how to design a solution that fits their needs and that they would actually purchase so we can keep our business moving along. Action steps for target customers. Again, who does the problem affect? That's the first thing that we ask them to look at. So really focusing and describing who that group is and describing who the intended users are in that same level of detail. Some of the research that we have to do, and they're asked to do in the next, is probably the action step, is to figure out who that is. How can we determine who that is? How narrow that focus can be to help us come up with, our plans, our business plan, how we're going to deliver our product or service, and of course, what that's going to look like as we design it and show that it can actually, our solution can work. So the population size, we need to figure that out. And looking at those customers and users, as I said, who else might possibly could use that? Might not be who we've targeted and who we've designed for, but are there other branches of people who might use this that we had not originally intended or thought about? Some of the resources that we have available are a couple of our optional things, as I said. In this case, for the target customer, the design thinking unit really can help you looking at the empathy map, the empathize and define video in that section. If you pull out that whole unit, you can break it up into pieces and only use the ones that you want, or you can do all of that. The whole unit is a 4 to 5 lesson unit. You can do that separately, or you can just pull out the pieces you need. For target customers, empathize and define help students distinguish between what sympathy is and what empathy is, and really put yourself in the shoes of the person who has the problem that you're trying to solve for. And along with that is an empathy map, where activities where students actually go through that process to kind of see what kind of connections that you can make between the problem somebody has and what that solution might be. Going to census.gov is another one of the resources that we suggest to help define how many people. If you're looking at a particular demographic subset of people, perhaps your problem is for people who are in their 20s. Well, how many people are in their 20s? So looking at census data gives us some target figure of the total number of people in their 20s in a certain period of time in a certain decade in the United States, or in our state, or in a region. You can use census data to get some idea of the numbers and help students focus a little bit more on how many of those people would actually choose their solution. So that pretty much wraps up that introduction to what students will be looking at, some of the resources for the problem and target customers in Ohio STEP. And now is our question time and ways that you can connect with OAS. So please, if you have any questions, be sure to contact our STEM advocates at stem@ohiosci.org. I am Sheila Kubik. I am one of the STEM advocates. Our other advocate is Casey Harris. So please use that stem@ohiosci.org to reach either one of us for any questions that you may have. Check out our project board website to see the resources and to see the templates and the workbooks to have an understanding of what this process is. Go to our YouTube channel as well for some of these videos and how to get into project board, as well as other programs that we have at OAS, like our Science Day and our BSEF. And be sure to find us on our social media platforms as well. Thank you. Hope to see you at the next one. Bye-bye.